Directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods, Heretic is releasing on November 8th, starring Hugh Grant, Sophie Thatcher, and Chloe East. So I had the pleasure of checking this movie out early last night, and I will say I was pleasantly surprised with this movie, and not even just surprised, just pleased with this movie. It was such a good movie. There were some issues with it, but overall I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. So the basic premise is Hugh Grant's character, who's Mr. Reed, Sophie Thatcher plays Sister Barnes, and Chloe East plays Sister Paxton. So these two girls, they're in the Mormon community, so they're going around trying to spread the word and convert people to their religion, and they stumble upon Hugh Grant's character, who is Mr. Reed, and they go on the endeavor of trying to convert him and speak to him about the Lord Jesus Christ.
Mr. Reed, are you interested in learning more about the Church of Jesus Christ?
Yeah.
So to their kind of surprise, they are invited into his home, but they can only be invited in if there's a woman. So he talks about his wife, and then they go in the home, and then that's when things start getting real.
I think it is time.
Time for what?
Time for enlightenment.
So overall, this movie encompasses a lot of talk about religion and Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Mormonism. The way how this movie portrays all of these religions and talks about them, and talks about the idea of belief versus non-belief.
Made simply. Belief or disbelief.
It's just such a great concept, and I love the way how this was directed, because it really makes you scratch your head a little bit, and you kind of somewhat agree quite a bit with Hugh Grant's character, because he's making a lot of sense and a lot of good points. The way this was shot was beautiful. The way how they captured a lot of emotions, especially from Sophie Thatcher's character, the way how she just conveyed terror in her face nonstop, and the way how things were portrayed and acted was just beautiful. The chemistry between the actors and actresses, and the way how the movie went and progressed, especially with the suspense and the thrill, made you really want to stay invested, honestly, as despite like some small issues with pacing and fleshing a little bit of things out, and sometimes it kind of felt like your hand was being held a little bit, which wasn't overall terrible, but I did understand and I saw various things coming. There were some things I didn't, which I was pleasantly surprised to see. There were other things that they already honed in on them earlier on, so to kind of beat it into you later on in the movie was kind of like, okay, well, we knew that, but thank you for continuing to beat us over the head with it. The reason that I said that I was pleasantly surprised is, for some reason, I don't know, I went into this and I was like, I'm looking forward to it. It's an A24 film though, so we'll see. I've had some run-ins with A24 films that I've really loved, or I really didn't like, so I didn't really know where this one was gonna stand for me. And I will say that one of the main standout characters and actors in this is Hugh Grant, because he went balls to the wall with his performance. He was super creepy. He was engaging. He was also extremely charismatic. Like the way how he portrayed his character and talking about the various religions and incorporating certain examples with real life things to incorporate with his conversation about religions, and question these girls and make them feel a certain way. It was just such a sight to see. I was really engaged from the jump, and the first half of the movie really had me the most. The latter half, yes, it had me too, because we finally got to like the meat and the potatoes, which we already knew a lot of that was coming. There's a kind of a big reveal close to the end, and if you pay attention to the movie, you kind of know what's happening. You kind of know what's coming, but the way how they did it was pretty well done. I will say again what I said earlier, sometimes they just beat it in a little too hard, that closer to the end they were just retelling a lot of things that they have already set up. Part of the charm for this movie for me, especially in the beginning, was the idea that you didn't really know what was really happening, and the suspense was killing you, and the idea behind when he had these two girls in a specific place and they had to make a decision, it was just like, I was at the edge of my seat. Those I was with, Anthony and my girlfriend Jen, we were there watching this and we were like, oh, this is really good. Topher Grace is also in this film, and he is the elder of the church that Sister Barnes and Sister Paxton are from. There comes a time where he becomes involved a little bit, and obviously I won't divulge too much because I don't really want to spoil anything. This movie really had the actors and actresses portray their roles exceedingly well. I said earlier that Hugh Grant was the standout, which he was, but I have to say that Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East did a phenomenal job as well, conveying all sorts of emotions, and the way how their faces were, they just really got invested in their role and their characters. Between the three of them and how they were portraying their roles, that's one of the main reasons that you just felt so invested. The way how the cinematography was and the music and the setting, you just got involved and you're sitting there like, oh my gosh, like what in the world is about to happen? And it's just a great and refreshing movie to see. I gotta give it to Scott Beck and Brian Woods. They directed this very well. The way how they directed their actors and actresses to convey the plot, beautiful. The entire idea behind the plot involving religions and the entire idea behind the plot involving religions and the idea of belief versus non-belief. Beautiful concept, and I am so glad that I got to see this early, because coming from a religious background, growing up in the church, and then hearing the way how these two girls who also kind of grew up in the church, and hearing Hugh Grant's character talk about all the various religions and the way how they are associated or not associated, it was very, very interesting to see, especially coming from a religious background. And I will say that anybody who is super, super religious maybe might want to stay away from this film, because it definitely is going to be controversial. It really is, but it is such a good film, and I think people in various religions just have to have an open mind and go to see this film, because it really will put a lot of things in perspective for you. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this review. It's much appreciated as always. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and the bell next to it so you can get a notification anytime there's a new video. Thanks again for watching. Until the next one.